Hey everyone, recently I went to play in a large Pokemon tournament called the Oceania International Championships, otherwise known as the OCIC. I kind of just want to compare it to like the Bushi experience and basically just kind of talk about, what was better and what could be done better, etc., etc. on both sides, right? On both sides. It's the tournament experience, right? And yeah, for my first Pokemon tournament ever, I apparently did pretty okay, right? So yeah, let's kind of just talk about it, right? I kind of want to do this after my Worlds vlog, which should be coming out soon, TM, right? But since I've been sick the past couple of weeks, I just didn't have enough voice to do anything. So yeah, it is what it is. And I did get sick after my Pokemon trip, right? Probably from all the bad stuff I've been eating, right? I went to America and ate a bunch of, not good stuff, not healthy stuff. It was good, tasted good. Definitely wasn't healthy, and then went to this tournament and definitely didn't eat healthy at all because it was too busy. So yeah, that's probably from that and from the exhaustion. Yeah, but let's kind of talk about what an IC is, right? You're probably going, what is an IC? Well, ICs are kind of like, they're kind of on a different level when you compare it to your Bushiroad, like BCS or Springfest kind of thing. They're kind of more equivalent to like what the Continentals were way back when we had Continentals. So it was like a level above like regional, right? Level above regionals. But you don't have to like qualify to enter, because previous Continentals you had to first qualify at the at your regional BCS, then you go to Continentals, and then you'd go to Worlds, right? But because how Pokemon does like their kind of Worlds qualifications a bit differently, you just don't have to qualify, you just go, and then you get like points that can lead to Worlds and things like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a different experience. You can only get 4 of these ICs a year as well, so you do get a large amount of people just flying in just to participate in this tournament. We had Yohan. He came to OCIC. It was quite a surprise. He was at Worlds, made top 8, then went to Australia, played in, and we played Pokemon. So it was pretty cool, right? And yeah, you just get a lot of people flying in, and they do also have like regionals as well. So they have regional events, and they're more similar to like what the Springfest and the BCS are. I think like in Sydney or in Australia, for example, we have like on top of the OCIC, we have like 3 more regionals. So definitely get a few more. But then like in the Oceania region, I think only Australia gets any regionals at all. Like Singapore and all that, they have their own Pokemon system. No, not Singapore. Indonesia has their own Pokemon language, and then I think Singapore just gets nothing. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but that's basically how it is, right? Those regionals are more numerous, happens more often, right? And then, yeah, one of the cool things about IC is that it is an international event. It has international in the name. And then that means, like, other players coming from other countries can bring their own, like, language cards as well. So I played against a bunch of players, some from Europe. They were playing, like, German cards. You have, like, Ergelmator, which is really funny. Then you have, like, Indo players with their Indo cards. Japanese players with Japanese cards. I think I played against a Korean player as well. And I could not read any of his cards. And I was playing a deck that I had no idea what it did. So that was pretty fun. That was pretty interesting. But it all worked out in the way. So it's really cool. You meet a huge variety of people at these ICs. So that's the other cool thing as well. Let's kind of talk about what we get when you join like these tournaments, right? So the entry to this tournament costs 60 bucks, 60 AUD. And it does vary on the region that you're in. So I think in the States, I heard it was like 70 USD or something like that. So it's a lot more money. Right, Bushi BCSs, they're free, but these cost a lot of money. What you do get is an entry, like a goodie bag, right? For entry is a goodie bag. You get a play mat, you get sleeves, you get a deck box, a hat, right? We got a hat for this one. You get a promo card and a nice competitor's badge. The badge was like bulky and looks really good, and yeah, it was really cool. Though it is, again, it is kind of pricey. $60 to enter event is, that's. Actually, I don't know how much kids get for pocket money nowadays, but it's not cheap. It's not like 30. It's like double a $30 locals, right? Secondary market wise though, these do sell for a decent amount of money if you can sell them. So you can easily make back your entry fee if you just like flip the stuff that you get, right? And then it's just, yeah, again, it's very different from a Bushiroad event where you just pretty much get a PR. But those it's not like it doesn't cost money to enter. So if you just feel like, if you feel like you don't know the format, but someone gave you a deck, you would enter Bushi tournament, right? But then in Pokemon, you probably won't, right? You just be like, I might pass, or you might join and just get the stuff and then just sell them. That could be it too. You know, the event space that they had was really cool as well. It was held in the convention center in Melbourne, so like it was pretty, like, for the scale of the event, it was very fitting, right? If you have like a very high level event that only happens like 4 times a year, you do expect the venue to like match that kind of level. But it did also get pretty cramped just because there was like a lot of players and just a lot of things going on, right? So, you know, like you have the TCG going on, you have Pokemon Go, you have the video games, you have side events, you have parents, you have the audience, and then you have the stage, and then you got the backstage as well, which took up a lot because, you know, all the casters were sitting there. There's a lot of things were happening in the backstage. So overall, the event space was good, but at the same time, there was just so much things going on. So for TCG as well, like a day one play space, they were fitting like three people on one side of the table, so 6 players a table, when ideally you'd want to fit like maybe 2, like 4, I mean, so like 2 each side. We were basically like, our mats were just covering each of the mats. It was like very cramped. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of people. Right, there was definitely a lot of people. And then, you know, overall, like the tournament itself just ran really well as well. It was fast. The tournament started at like 9 a.m. sharp, and it did. Like sometimes when you have a tournament, it'd be like, hey, you know, it starts at 9 a.m. and then it starts instead at like 10 a.m. because, you know, they had to do like 1 hour doing that. This one just started at 9 a.m. But the thing is, we had to register the day before. So like every normal person, right? Unless you had like extenuating circumstances, you had to go the day before from like 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to like sign in and check in. And then, you know, then you were set. They give you the stuff and you're free to go, right? The tournament round time's like 50 minutes each and was like best of 3. And there were like 9 rounds in day 1, and each round basically, realistically, took 70 to 80 minutes. So, you know, although the you know, official round time is 50, at 50, you know, time gets called. But you have 3 turns to play, and then, you know, there's like other players with like more additional time given by judges because, you know, you call for a judge, or maybe there's like a random deck check or something like that, or just something happened. So, you know, realistically, the rounds are ending like 70 to 80 minutes, and you would expect that, right? You do expect that because, you know, if you have experience playing tournaments, that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is. So we basically finished it around like 8 p.m. or so, which was basically like a long day of playing card games. And then if you did well enough, you'd make it to day 2, where you'd play 5 more rounds of Swiss and then like a top 8. So it was a long day, a long 2 days to be honest, but I guess, you know, it ran pretty smoothly, especially for an international event where there's like a bunch of players, a lot of players, all with different languages as well. You know, there'll be a lot of things coming on. It ran smoothly. 70, 80 minutes for 50-minute rounds. It is very expected. I think I did a talk about like best of 3s before, and this is what you expect, right? This is what you expect. One of the cool things, or one of the funny thing and cool things, right, is that in Pokemon tournaments they have like 4 tiebreakers. Well, at least in like the one I played in. They have 4 tiebreakers. And 3 of them are like the normal stuff you'd expect, right? So, you know, how well your opponent did, your score, how well your opponents did, and all that, just to break ties. But the 4th one, and the most important one, the one that had the most weighting, was a tiebreaker called tardiness. And so basically, if you were late to a round and you got caught by a judge, you got marked as tardy, and your tiebreakers automatically became the worst, right? So in order to avoid that, you just had to show up on time. You literally just had to show up on time, because if you got marked as tardy, you just have a really bad tiebreaker. You just go straight to the bottom of all the tiebreakers. So I think that's pretty, honestly, I think that's pretty good. It just made sure everyone was there, and you know, people were way more paying attention to like what's happening. So I think I only saw like two people that got marked as tardy, and which really mattered. So yeah, that was pretty good for a tournament that was that big. For me, I did really well in day 1, and I finished like 7-1-1, so I got like 7 wins, 1 tie, and 1 loss. So I got to play in day 2. And then my day 2 was like really bad. I did really poorly in day 2, and I went like 1-4. I was also put on stream where I got like destroyed. But you get like a Pokemon shirt for going on stream, so like, you know, free stuff is good. And then yeah, day 2 was definitely harder than day 1. Like there's like definitely a level of player, like the level of players definitely went up. if you went to like Limitless, if you see the profiles, like the profile sheet, their achievements went like it went heaps long. But yeah, day 2 definitely was harder than day 1 as expected. But yeah, you could definitely feel it, right? You could definitely feel it. And in the end, I got like 41st, which means that I got some additional prizes as well. It's pretty crazy, right? So apparently, if you finish in the top 64, you get a booster box, which is cool. But you also get 500 USD. Like that's nice, 500 USD. But then you get taxed. You get taxed 30%. So you basically get 350 USD. But yeah, that covers my trip to Melbourne. So pretty good. I like money. I don't like taxes much, but that's just how it is, right? When you grow up, actually, this is a children's card game, so you know, even when you're a kid, you still get taxed. But yeah, so that was my experience. That was my big long experience on how the tournament went, and all the cool stuff, like winning things. So let's kind of talk about the stuff that's like less good, right? Let's kind of talk about the stuff that's less good. So I mentioned like before how the tournament was like a best of 3 and had like a 50-minute timer, right? And this is definitely not enough time for a best of 3 to be played, because you know, unless you scoop early, right? Unless you scoop early, the moment you feel like you're gonna lose, you probably won't have enough time to finish 3 games. And I think it's funny because my stream game that I had, my second game in that, I was doing very, very poorly. Like if you looked at when I was looking at my deck, there was like important stuff that was prized, stuff on the, you know, I only had 1 Archeops. I should have 2, but I only had 1 that game. My hand was pretty terrible, but my opponent felt like his hand wasn't good, even though I feel like he could have won. So he just went, I'm gonna scoop, and then go straight to game 3, where he would start and probably have a better advantage. And that was kind of surprising for me, because I thought I was gonna lose game 2, but yeah, that's just how it is. So that's kind of how the best of 3 50-minute thing worked, where you just like, if you feel like you don't have, you want to just you don't have the advantage and you want to have enough time to play a game 3, you just have to scoop early, even though like the outcome of this match is not exactly certain, right? I mean, from his point of view, his hand maybe was like just absolutely awful and in no way of beating mine, even though like on the board my field looked really bad as well. So maybe that was the correct choice. But I feel like that game was like more up in the air than you would have thought. But yeah, he just went straight to game 3. So that's kind of like the result of like this kind of 50-minute best of 3. Also, like a lot of players did ask me to play faster, which, you know, I admit I'm a newer player. So, you know, some of my plays could be slow, but I do know like the pace of play rule in Pokemon. So basically in Pokemon, you have to make moves at a steady pace. You can't like go, hold on, I'm gonna think for like the next minute. You can't actually do that. You actually have to play stuff, and you have to play it at a steady pace. So I know that rule, and I know that I wasn't slow playing, and you know, I was playing a deck that definitely that didn't have as much actions as a lot of my opponents. So the reality is that, you know, most of my opponents was spending way more time than I was. But yeah, that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is. But that just comes back to how I feel like there's not enough time for this best of 3, 50 minutes best of 3. When you reach top 8, you get more time, right? You get 75 minutes per round, which seems perfect for a best of 3. When you kind of realize in Japan, I think that they played in best of 1 instead, and the round time for a best of 1 is 25 minutes. So 25 minutes times 3 is 75, and you just have just enough time for certain matchups for it to all play out. 50 minutes does feel too short, and I know a lot of people are talking about best of 3s in Vanguard and, you know, OCIC as well. I think the same thing will happen, because in a way, Vanguard is not a game where you would scoop when you're kind of behind, because there's a lot of ways to win, so you always want to play it out. I just feel like a best of 3 with like 50 minutes is not enough. So when we think of, if we want to translate best of 3 to Vanguard, you definitely will probably want to add even more time. Does it mean best of 3 sucks? No, it's fine. But I personally wouldn't have minded playing something like best of 1 for like 14 rounds over 2 days, and then play like Swiss top 8 if that happened. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like best of 1 Swiss is like generally fine, especially if the like tournament is taking so long and there's so many rounds. And I think in like when you look at it, like from every single league, like Japan League, you know, in Vanguard where best of one is going on, it's still a lot of the best players are still doing very, very well and doing very consistent. So I feel like either way is fine, but if you want a best of 3, you probably want more time. Like, that's just how it is. Because I don't know, I don't like games getting decided by, you know, time, or you have to like scoop like super early. Maybe it's just the format. Like sometimes it's slow or sometimes it's fast. I'm not 100%. Again, I'm like a new player, kind of a new player. So yeah, that's maybe you just have to get used to it, right? So that's it. That's it. The other thing that kind of annoyed me was like penalties, like penalties that judges can give. So there is a special penalty that is not in, well, that is kind of more specific to Pokemon, right? And that's called like the double prize penalty. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically in Pokemon you have 6 cards in your prize zone. It's basically 6 prizes, right? And to win, you basically have to, most of the time you have to get all the prizes from the prize zone by like knocking out your opponent's Pokemon and things like that. However, when someone receives this double prize penalty, it means that, you know, the opponent, the guy who, like the person who received the double prize penalty, their opponent has to take 2 prizes less to win. That's pretty big. So like, instead of like needing 6 prizes to win, they would only need to take 4, right? And then like it's in Vanguard terms, this would be like, you know, someone losing on 4 damage instead of 6. So if you feel like that, you know, this penalty is actually pretty game breaking. You know, it's like, it's pretty hard to come back if you're given this penalty. And this didn't happen to me. I didn't get any penalties the whole tournament. But it happened one time to my opponent when he accidentally saw the top card of his deck when he drew. You know, he accidentally like drew like an extra card and saw the top card of his deck, right? And that becomes a double prize penalty. That's pretty harsh, right? And then in top 4, I think one of the players on stream accidentally drew his mulligan card instead of before putting prizes, and he got a double prize penalty for that. Even though, like, you know, I think in both situations they were reversible. They were basically reversible, but they just automatically got given a double prize penalty. And none of the, at least for my opponent, they didn't have any warnings before, but you know, they got the double prize penalty and kind of just lost the game. Pretty much there, right? Pretty much there. Like in Vanguard, we don't have that. Like we just usually it's just a warning, and then if it happens repeatedly, it becomes a game loss. But then when you think about it, if you're given like a double prize penalty, it is kind of just a game loss. Maybe like you should just be given more warnings before giving a double prize penalty and stuff. And sure, like it's OCIC, it's like really high level, you know, it's very strict, but you know, people fly and pay money to go to these events, and they play a long time. Like we've been playing, like when that prize penalty situation happened for my opponent, I mean, we've been playing, this is day 2, we've been playing for so long. Yeah, you know, you just lose a game, you lose a whole match because of that. That's pretty bad. Like my opponent even self-reported, right? He raised his hands, like, you know, this happened, blah blah blah. And like during a game 3 as well. So yeah, I just like after he got it, I just kind of auto won. So it just feels really bad in a way. Like it feels kind of undeserved, but if that's how it is, it happens, right? But I guess like one thing this kind of does is that it also does encourage soft sharking, where, you know, if something does happen, you know, and like, you know, you would benefit from your opponent getting a double prize penalty, you could act like very dumb and just go, I don't know what happened, you know, something happened, yeah, you know, yeah, like usually in Vanguard, right, at least most of the time, both players are generally very cooperative in trying to resolve situations. That's from my personal experience, of course, if something happens. Because in a way, like, there's less ways you can get advantage from this as well. Like, if a reversible situation happened, you know, usually both players know it's reversible, so they wouldn't try to go, well, I don't know what happened. You should, maybe if I do this, they might get in trouble, right? That usually doesn't happen, but in Pokemon, it did. I was sitting next to players, and it kind of did happen, right? So, you know, just getting a double prize penalty and just kind of auto winning from there. It does feel kind of bad, and like this will kind of encourage that, because there's also like things on the line. There's like, it's like prizes as well, you know, actual, this money. This is literally money. But yeah, no, this isn't really me hating on the judges as well. I think the judges for this was very good. And if I like for example, if I wanted translations, right, they were just happy to get them and give me extra time because, you know, international tournament, you know, different cards and things like that. And then all games have like good and bad judges, just how it is. But I just feel like, you know, the double prize penalty adds an extra level of, you know, punishment that might not be needed, or, you know, you should like go to more warnings before giving a double prize penalty, and don't give it too frequently, especially for stream games. Because I remember one year I was like watching the TCG World Finals for Pokemon, and one of the players was given a double prize penalty for slow play, which basically lost them the game. And I remember like back then there was like a huge outrage regarding this, because, you know, there was also some, because it's Worlds, like I think the player had like was different languages, so it took more time to translate the languages, and it didn't, you know, communication issues, right? But like that actually turned me off from playing the game, because, you know, I don't want to play a game where, you know, a lot of it's just decided by an external judge, you know, dishing out penalties, and it's like, here's a double prize penalty. You played this very strict. Yeah, I don't like playing that. I like playing card games for fun, right? So yeah, that kind of took me off playing Pokemon for a very long time. But yeah, like, you know, I like money as well. You have to remember, you know, that if there's money on the line as well, the more serious the tournament is going to be, right? So, you know, the better prizes, definitely, you know, people will take it more seriously, right? So even at BCS, right, you know, there's still an element of casual feel where everyone knows each other. I think when you looked at Worlds, right, you had a bunch of people still joking with each other, even those actual things online, like, you know, like World Championship status, getting that one-of card. But people are still like a lot of fun, having a lot of fun, doing a lot of jokes and things like that. But I think everything was like more tense at OCIC because, you know, there's money, people paying money to travel and things like that, getting championship points. So yeah, it's definitely more tense. But then again, like, I have no friends in Pokemon, you know? I don't have friends in the Pokemon community. So probably everyone thought I was like Randy McRandom and just, you know, didn't want to talk to me. Yeah, well, not really didn't want to talk to me, I guess. It's just like, you know, more, you know, not, they just don't know you, right? They just don't. Like in Vanguard or Weiss, I probably know a lot of the players in Australia. Everyone's like, hey, what's happening? Yeah, so that's kind of another element you have to remember. Just, you know, sometimes money changes people, right? Prize money changes people. But yeah, otherwise I think the event was just really good, and I'll definitely go again next year. And then, you know, if I'm really get into it or get really pro, right, I might go to other ICs. Like there's Europe IC, there's Latin America, and maybe NA. I don't know. NA's a bit hard. Does that mean like Bushi events can't compare? Well, you know, there is. You can't really talk about this without talking about some of the boring stuff, and that is the cost, right? The cost. So one thing, let's kind of talk about the boring stuff a bit. So let's talk about the event location. So the convention center that they had was a really cool place, and, you know, it'd be cool if everything was ran at these big convention centers. I know in like Europe, you know, there's been some talks about like the location for sometimes, and why is some of these BCSs held in like card shops, right? Well, you know, guess what? Convention centers cost a lot of money, right? And that's just like one element of running the event, right? The event venue, right? So let's kind of put it in perspective, right? This is going to be very rough numbers. But yeah, for TCG players at OCIC, there was probably around 530-ish players, and they all played around $60 to join the tournament, which equals just under 32,000 Australian dollars in terms of entry fee revenue, right? That's a lot of money, 32,000. But I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't even cover the cost of the event hall, right? Because convention centers do cost a lot of money, and I've had an experience helping run some of these events at these halls at convention centers, like the big ones, and yeah, they cost a lot of money. They definitely cost at least 5 digits, and it's not the low 5 digits. It's for like 3 days, maybe 4 days that they were hiring this. They cost a lot of money, right? And that's not including like staff, and then the streaming crew as well, and things like that. They all cost more money. So yeah, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. And, you know, you'd say, you know, you could charge vendors for like vending. There weren't any vendors. So like one vendor And that was it. That was one vendor. So yeah, now I think Pokemon does outsource this event to another company to run, which is ESL Australia. So they probably get better deals for like the hall, and then like, you know, they probably have their own streaming crew and all that. But you know, it still costs money. That stuff still costs money. So they have to fight. They definitely have other ways of doing it to make a profit. But personally, I doubt Pokemon is making a profit from their organized play at all, right? Like they run way more than just OCIC. They have to spend money for like, you know, all the other ICs and then all the other regionals too. And sure, you can get the local distributor or the local team to run these regionals. But, you know, in terms of like prizes and like stuff, all that stuff, that's still going to cost them money. And then, you know, you have to add in like, yeah, so adding in like prizes, it gets like super more complicated because like, you know, because they're giving out money as prizes, they have to get a platform that can distribute these prizes out, which means even more costs, right? Like they could have their own accounting guys do that, which would cost them more money, or they could hire a specific team, a specific company to do these, to hand out the money prizes to other places around the world. Don't forget, like, they're giving out money to like Australians, and they're from America, right? They're from America. You have to give money to like anywhere around the world. So they definitely need another platform to kind of do that, and that costs money too. And it all comes out of the budget, right? It all comes out of the budget. So you have to wonder, how much is it costing a Pokemon company to do this? I don't have the numbers, but I'll say it's a lot of money. But it's just because like they can do this because the Pokemon IP is so damn huge that they can, right? And it's not like Bushi can't pull off like this level event. If you went to Worlds, I felt like it was done really well, right? If you just watched it on stream, you could definitely see those difference on the stream. Like the stream was really, really good too, right? But yeah, at the event, you know, they did it at I think Los Angeles Convention Center. I don't know the exact name, but the presentation set up there was really great, and I think it can get better from there. But you all have to remember, it does cost money and has to come from somewhere. So like I can be real, right? I can be really real. Pokemon Company likely has a way deeper pocket for this kind of stuff because Pokemon is very huge, and you have to remember what their target market is. It's not just for the current Pokemon players, right? It is also for other like future generations. Think about it, right? Pokemon IP, very family friendly. You get your parents taking you to the OCICs or ICs in general. They have a specific, you know, parents' place. They have specific age brackets. They have juniors, seniors, and then like the masters brackets. So, you know, the juniors and seniors are for like the lower age kids. And they give scholarships out if you win. So, you know, families participating in this gives like more vibes. Makes you want to like tell your kid, hey, or if you have a kid in the future, like, you know what's a good family bonding thing to do? Play Pokemon TCG, right? We can take you to like another country, and we can just participate. And kid, you might win a scholarship money, yo, right? That's pretty good marketing, because then it gets more people and kind of makes it so in the future you have more Pokemon trainers to keep on supporting the IP. So I think there's just a huge long-term value into it, and Pokemon does have like a lot of money that they can do to just kind of throw at this and kind of hopes it works, right? But yeah, in the end, it really just comes down to cost and how much money you're willing to spend, you know, how much your IP can make, because it's definitely not cheap, right? It's definitely not cheap. You could say this is marketing, and it all comes out of the marketing budget. How big is your marketing budget? I can say Pokemon probably has a really huge marketing budget, you know, really huge, right? So yeah, but I do think there is one thing that, you know, Bushi can really do, and that is side events. So what happened at OCIC was they were literally just running side events where they had like old stock, right? They had old stock, and people literally just pay money to farm mats and packs, right? And that's where I think all the money is recouped, right? You know, we have the entry level, we have the entry revenue and all that. That probably covers a lot of the you know, the how do you say, the venue hire. But the amount of people that were spending money at side events, that was massive. That was massive. It was going on the whole weekend. when you think about, you know, one of the side events, you bought a pack and a mat, right? And that was $40. The amount of people that went for that, because those mats they had a lot of them, but they sold out. That would have made heaps of money, right? And that would basically, you know, when you think about it, if you had an event, you had a Bushi event at like a big regionals location, right? Like Cali, and they had a bunch of like old stock, like old BCS participation mats and things like that. You could just get rid of that stock while making money, right? You can make money, and it just, you know, allows players to participate or just random people to show up and play. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. And it's definitely something that I think, you know, Bushiroad probably should do in the future, at least for their bigger regionals where they can get side events going. And I think they probably did it in the past, but you know, COVID happened and things like that. But you know, it's a new year. I think it's a good time to do that and start that up again. And they'll probably help them out in getting some money, unless they don't have any stock, right? But then, you know, they could print more. They could print more and see how it goes, right? But yeah, that's pretty much my recap of the event. Overall, it was a very fun event. Until I got sick from playing too much card games. I'll definitely be playing BCS coming up soon because it's always fun. It's always nice to meet new people and the oldies, and the vibe is like totally different. It'll be really cool to participate in Daivangasai as well, because I'm going to Japan with Kelvin, and we're going to be playing in Daivangasai. Last time we went to, like, I think it was WGP Tokyo. We were just playing in the side event there because, you know, we couldn't participate. But it was still fun. So this time I think it'll be very different experiences actually playing there as a team. Let me know what you guys think of the events and whether you've participated in like other big events and how they compare, and you know what things that Bushi can do to improve. I know, like, you know, one of the things was like, you know, let's get some prize. And the funny thing is, like, everyone wants like entry fee to tournaments and things like that, and you get a little thing back. And then I think in Pokemon you see a lot of people complaining the entry fee is so high. So I feel like a lot of things people just complain about because it's just how it is. We'll always complain about the same thing from different perspectives. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about, you know, events and whether you've participated in other big ones and how cool they were. And I'll see you next time. All right, bye.